This week's edition of NJBIA's Minding Your Business is brought to you in part by AT&T, helping family, friends, and neighbors connect in meaningful ways every day. PPAC Gladstone Bank, known nationally and in New Jersey for providing unparalleled client service, integrity, and trust for over 100 years. New Jersey's community colleges, aligning education to build an innovative workforce. Find out how your business can benefit at njpathways.org. And by New Jersey Business Magazine, providing critical information needs for New Jersey's business community for more than 66 years.
Welcome to NJBIA's Minding Your Business. I'm Bob Considine. Well, if you're a business or individual who's getting rid of older computers, servers, or other devices, do not do it. Not until you call Computers for People a Hoboken-based nonprofit that is bridging the digital divide by repurposing e-waste. And here to talk all about it is Computers for People founder Dylan Zajac. Dylan, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
All right, so listen, I love what you've built here. I really do. But before we do that, I want you to tell the folks how and why this started.
Yeah, well, it all started back when I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
My friends and I used to go to thrift shops around Brooklyn, New York, and pick up old electronics, like old servers, old computers, laptops. We would bargain for a deal, bring them back on the subway on our skateboards, and then fix them up and sell them on eBay and Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
So I had a pretty good business going for me.
Yeah.
We were making some money. But one day I saw that, all this electronic waste, companies didn't know how to get rid of the waste. And that's why it ended up at these thrift stores. And I later learned that 85% of the e-waste actually ends up in the landfill.
Right.
Polluting the environment.
Yeah.
It's really terrible.
Yeah.
So I learned that. And then I was talking to my stepmom one day, who worked at a nonprofit, and she told me how dozens of her clients couldn't afford to buy computers, but really needed them for jobs, going to school, telehealth, federal benefits. And right there, it just clicked.
A fluorescent light bulb went off in your head.
Massive light bulb went off. And the next day, I bought the domain names for Computers for People, and started filing for 501c3, and built up a board of directors, and then the first computers I got were from people actually selling on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, okay.
So it's sort of full circle here.
So when they were selling, did you say you could just give it to me for free?
Basically, I would just text them and be like, hey, we can give you a tax write-off if you just give it to me for free.
That's very smart.
And a lot of people went for it.
Right.
And that's how the first donations
So you were, 15 when this started, I guess?
I was 15.
15 years old. And were you were in high school, but you were going to college, right? Now you're going to college.
Yeah, so I was in high school. I was a sophomore. I built it up until I graduated high school, and then now I'm in college. I'm a junior in college.
What college are you going to?
I'm going to Babson College.
Babson University, Babson College.
Babson College.
Home of the Beavers.
Beavers, yes.
Yeah, right. Biz E. Beaver, I remember as the mascot.
Yes.
There, right? So as you're building this, I was wondering if COVID, because it sounds like it was right around COVID. Was that a good time for you to build or a bad time?
It's really interesting because we saw the need before COVID started, right?
Yeah.
Back in 2019, there was still a massive need for computers. But obviously, right when COVID hit, there was this increased demand where everyone needed a computer to go to school, to go to work.
Yeah.
And the digital divide became known around the world, I think. So right when COVID hit, we saw a massive influx of applications come in, and press came in, more computers eventually.
Right.
So definitely COVID, grew our organization, but the need was there way before COVID.
Were you kind of surprised how it took off?
Not really.
Really? Okay.
From the beginning, I knew that this could be an idea that created a massive organization. So I was never surprised.
Right.
But I knew it would get to this point.
That's great.
it just was a lot of work to get here.
And do you have like employees? Do you have a lot of workers or anything like that?
Yeah, so now we have an office space in Hoboken, New Jersey,
Right.
and we're launching another one in Massachusetts.
No kidding.
Right now.
Absolutely.
And we have 10 full-time employees.
Wow,
So
this is amazing.
everyone's in the office right now.
Right.
You know, working hard.
Right. Go wave to them on the camera.
Yeah, how's it going?
All right. So let's explain how does this work?
Yes.
For the businesses who are getting rid of, or the individuals who are getting rid of, do they come to you or do you solicit them? How does it work?
Yeah, most of the time companies come to us.
Okay.
Most companies buy computers for all of their staff, and every 2 to 3 years they have to refresh those computers.
Right.
So oftentimes they pay an electronic recycler
Right.
to come and pick up all this stuff, and those electronic recyclers just resell it or recycle it, or don't properly recycle it.
Right.
So we make it very easy. These companies come to us, say, hey, I have 100 computers. They fill out the form on our website.
Right.
We schedule a pickup, pick all of those computers up for free, and then issue a tax receipt to those donors.
And what are some of the dangers about not recycling it? Like if this stuff gets in a landfill, what are some of the bad things that can happen? I saw this stuff even like Ghana. There are people trying to get the copper wiring out of computers and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up online electronic waste in landfills,
Right.
you'll see like places in Africa and India and around the world where they're burning computers.
Yeah.
And if you could just think about, burning a computer, all of the terrible parts in there that leak into the soil, into the air, into the water.
Runoff.
It causes terrible diseases
Yeah.
if you drink that water. So
Yeah.
terrible things happen when you
Terrible
burn a
things happen.
computer.
And I was also thinking, as you're talking about, businesses getting rid of the computers, I'm also thinking individuals are doing that probably more often now because the technology moves so quickly.
Exactly.
And I'm also wondering if these people who are getting these computers, some of them are probably getting some pretty good computers because, they're not that old, and like I said, technology moves so fast.
Exactly. Yeah, we receive a lot of donations from individuals where they buy a MacBook and then 2 years later they buy another MacBook and then 2 years later they buy another one.
Yeah.
So some of these computers are in like fantastic condition. People just wanted an upgrade.
And do you work on them? I mean, do you have to like clean it? Do you, if there's anything that can be done, do your employees work on it? To improve? Okay.
Yeah, we do all the refurbishing in-house right now. So all the computers come in.
Right.
We professionally wipe the computers using a NIST 888 standard. And then once they're all wiped, we reinstall Windows 10 onto those devices.
Okay.
And they're like a perfectly new machine.
Right.
We also do a professional clean with some wipes and some paper towels.
Yeah, sure.
And make sure they're ready to go out the door. So
I'm wondering if there's ever been a time where somebody came back to you and said, "Oh wait, I needed to file off the computer."
that happens more than you would think, unfortunately.
Right. How many computers have you doled out?
So far, we've donated over 2,500 computers.
Wow.
To people in need. Yeah.
Right. That's an amazing number. What kind of people are in need for this technology? Are these kind of like underserved communities or?
Yeah, everyone that receives a computer is low income. We partner with over 300 nonprofit organizations across New Jersey and New York City. These organizations serve a range of people, including veterans, senior citizens, refugees, formerly incarcerated, homeless, students. So a wide range of people, all that can't afford the computers. But we have an application process where they apply for it, get a recommendation letter from that nonprofit, and then once they're approved and meet the eligibility requirements, then we provide that computer for free.
That's a great system. It's great.
Yeah.
And you've got kind of other programs to help kind of close the digital divide. Could you just tell us about them?
Yeah, we knew in order to bridge the entire digital divide, we needed to offer even more programming. So what we did is we first started up a computer literacy program. So that means we're going in person to different community centers and teaching classes where individuals don't know how to actually use the computers. So like what is the point of giving someone a computer if it's just, they don't know how to use it? It's
Right.
basically a brick
Right.
to them. So we teach them how to turn it on, how to navigate Windows, how to create an email address, how to surf the internet,
Wow.
all the basic skills you need to, eventually create a resume and apply for a job or access Zoom and, attend classes. So that's one program we run.
That's great.
The other program includes internet. So we're getting a lot of people connected to the internet for free or low cost
Right.
through various different ways.
Yeah, I saw a stat on your website, which is great. Almost 1.5 million hours of internet donated so far.
Yeah, so far we've donated 1.5 million hours of internet to people in need.
That's tremendous.
So hopefully, next year it'll be 10 million.
Right. You come back and let us know.
Yeah.
I saw that Computers for People was recently named to Poets and Quants list of most disruptive undergraduate business school startups of 2020 and 2023. And I know you've won other awards, but as you're talking about this, I am curious as how much satisfaction you get out of this, not only from the environment, but when you're actually helping people learn to use these devices.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best feeling to be able to give someone a computer and, just the reaction from someone receiving a free computer.
Right.
It makes me feel great.
Yeah.
But then later on, getting a message from this person, a month or two later saying they got a job through the computer, that's, life-changing.
Right,
So
that is the best.
It's amazing. We're at this point where we donated 2,500 computers, but, how do we get to the point where we're changing 1 million lives?
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Word of mouth and awareness, right?
Yeah.
How about your team that you work with? Are they kind of mission aligned with you too?
Of course, everyone on the team is here to make a massive impact.
Right.
Everyone works very hard, and we're here to grow Computers for People to be as big as it can be.
Right. Well, I think it's tremendous. Theoretically, this could be your career. Are you looking to do something else? Are you just looking to grow this? What's your future look like?
I have a lot of aspirations in life. I want Computers for People to be one of the largest nonprofits in the world. So I will do what it takes to get Computers for People there. But then beyond that, I'm a business student.
Yeah, sure.
I'm interested in starting businesses and startups. So possibly in the future I'll start other companies as well. But I'm here to make a change in the world.
That's great. You're doing awesome. BIA will be here to help you for whenever you want to do that.
appreciate it.
Yeah. And also, folks, go to his website. Is Computers for People, the numerical 4.org. Computersforpeople.org. Dylan Zajac, thank you so much for being here. Great job.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be back right after these words.
Calm before the storm? No, thank you. This is Jim's time to shine. And Mike's. And Jennifer's. Helmets? Check. Drones? Check. Checking that thing we just checked? Double check. We ain't got time to chill. We're out here driving this thing. This is when we get to work. To keep you connected. No matter what. Connect before the storm. Change how we weather them. Connecting changes everything. AT&T.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly dreaming left its scenes while I was sleeping. And whispered in the sound of silence.
Welcome back to NJBIA's Mind Your Business. I'm Bob Considine. Well, there's a new data privacy law that is likely to impact many New Jersey businesses that market to their customers. Here to discuss the details with us today is NJBIA Deputy Chief Government Affairs Officer Ray Cantor. Ray, thank you so much for being here.
Bob, it's always a pleasure.
We love having you, and this is quite a technical one, but it's an important law that we're going to talk about today. First, let's get to the basics, Ray. For those who do not know, what are we talking about with data privacy as it relates to business?
Well, as everyone who is ever on the internet or uses their phone or apps,
Right.
All these devices collect and store data. And that data is used for various purposes. It's used for marketing. It's used for customer service. It's used to provide awards. What this law does is address the consumer concerns that a lot of people may not want their data collected. They may not want their data shared.
Right.
Or they may want to limit how their data is used.
Right.
They want to make sure that their data is accurate.
Right.
And certain sensitive data they may not want to be used or stored at all.
Right.
This law, in its very simplistic sense, requires that businesses, that collect and store that data, notify people as to what their consumers, as to what their rights are, as far as the data is concerned. It allows consumers to decide not to share their data or have their data not collected at all.
Right.
And it provides, for mechanisms that consumers can see what data is being is out there,
Sure.
and to correct any mistakes in that data. So that's kind of like a general overall synopsis of what this law does. The details are obviously a lot more complicated.
Yeah, and we should say NJBIA didn't necessarily oppose data privacy for consumers, correct?
Oh, not at all. We've been working with a consortium of various businesses throughout the state, and the business community, both here in New Jersey and nationwide, are fully in support of these types of laws.
Right.
We've been working across the nation with a number of other states. I think at this point, 14 other states have data privacy laws in place. New Jersey is now the latest state to adopt data privacy. We just want to make sure that these laws can be implemented, that they're clear and they don't lead to unintended results.
Right. So what was the opposition to the bill? I mean, I guess we're going to get into the technical part here. Basically, they would require companies and nonprofits to ask customers to opt in before collecting data on certain types of information.
And so again, it gets into complexity really quick.
Right.
But basically, there's three types of data that are being regulated in the bill.
Right.
There are I'll call it generic data, non-identifiable information. So the data may be out there, but it can't link it to Bob Considine.
Right.
So no one knows
Thank goodness.
that this data
Right.
is yours. Then there's data that can be personally identifiable to an individual, and that data is treated a certain way.
Right.
And then there's sensitive data, and that data is treated in a different way.
I see.
Obviously, the more sensitive the data is,
Right.
different provisions apply to it. But it all depends on what type of data is being stored, how it's being used, and whether or not the law applies to you or not.
Okay, so what were some of the objections to the bill, now law?
Again, from a business community, we didn't object to any of the general propositions.
Right.
We wanted to make sure, one, that as we all know today, our economy is run by data. We no longer have generic ads going to everybody. In most instances, you could basically micro-target, your advertising to people who actually want those services.
Right, it's like geo-targeting.
Geo-targeting, micro-targeting.
Right.
So we want to maintain that economy. That not only do large platforms rely on that, but many retailers rely on being able to target people who they know are coming into the area. So a lot of businesses really rely on the use of this data. And we wanted to make sure that we could still use that data here in New Jersey in order to facilitate our market economy. The problem is, again, I mentioned 14 other states have similar laws. We want to make sure that these laws, our law here in New Jersey, is the word is interoperable with other states.
Got it.
So we want to make sure that, to the extent we can, we have similar provisions, similar requirements, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but there's going to be a uniform opt-out provision that industry is creating.
Right.
So if you're in any of these states, there'll be one platform where you could opt out of having your information stored or shared.
Right.
But if New Jersey does things in a different manner than other states, then it's hard to have a uniform platform.
Right, yeah.
If New Jersey has terminology that is vague, we don't know exactly how it's going to apply or if it's the same as other state laws.
Right.
So what we're looking for is something that is uniform, something consistent, something everyone understands what the requirements are and that we can implement it.
Yeah, very
and of
good.
course, and we have concerns about litigation, but
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But you're talking about other states. I guess what we're talking about here is rulemaking, right? Because New Jersey is going to be one of 3 states now that are going to have their attorney general write rules about this. Do I have that correct?
Yes. So partly we're talking about rulemaking. So again, from a general sense, there are problems with the bill as crafted because there's vague language in there. There's internal inconsistencies. There's inconsistencies with other states. So that's a more holistic concern with the bill.
Right.
There's also the concern we have that we're giving the Office of the Attorney General the ability to write rules.
Got it.
Only 2 of the other states, have rulemaking provisions.
Right.
California, for instance, when they came out with their rules, they were much longer than the actual law.
This was not a pamphlet, I'm sure.
Much more complicated. And when you do rulemaking, you have the possibility that things are changed. So we're already concerned about uniform provisions. Rulemaking can only exacerbate that. And we've seen that in California.
And Colorado, too, is the
In
other
Colorado,
one.
yes.
All right, so we'll get into it a little bit, Ray, with the private right of action I think we were discussing earlier, and the threat of litigation. How does this shake out? Why should companies be concerned about litigation here?
A company should always be concerned about litigation. So again, we have a very complex law, a lot of requirements in there that are going to make businesses have certain procedures in place, how they could store data, how they notify consumers, respond to consumer complaints, addressing concerns. And there are lots of, and again, as I mentioned before, there are vague terminology within this law. So when you have a vague law and no one's entirely sure how it plays out, and then you couple it with the possibility that lawyers could look for those ambiguities and that vagueness, and then bring a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit. It could be thousands of people. Even if it isn't valid substantively, the threat of that lawsuit alone could force companies to spend lots of money or settle a case just because a lawsuit is brought.
On a technical violation, it could be.
These are all technical violations because it all depends on a lot of different requirements as, again, dealing with the data. And we all know data is used in different ways, in different platforms, in different businesses. We worked very closely with the sponsors for years on making sure that this law is done correctly and that only the Attorney General's office could enforce that law. We think that's the best way when you have a law this complicated. You have one entity who could enforce it in the public interest. Changes were made to this bill literally on the last day that opened up the door, we believe, to private attorneys coming in and enforcing it. And we think that's going to create just a lot of frivolous or non-meritorious lawsuits. And again, and businesses are going to have to pay the price for that.
Well, let's talk about cost of compliance with it. Are there costs of compliance other than having to defend yourself?
Absolutely. So again, the law sets up a whole structure of how data could be collected, how consumers are notified, what could be, you have to do assessments. So we found from California, and California is a little bit different than us, and also a few years ago when the study was done, that startup costs for businesses are going to be between $50,000 and $100,000 off the bat. While that may not be a big deal for some major companies, for some of the smaller companies who will be brought in, nonprofits who are now, at the last moment, by the way, they weren't even aware of this law applying to them, but changes at the end brought them into this. So I was talking to a nonprofit the other day, and they said those types of costs for them are just unmanageable. That's like 20% or more of their budget just for initial startup costs. And then, of course, there are yearly costs as well, and the threat of litigation.
Wow, that's amazing. Any potential downside for the consumer with this bill, with this law?
Absolutely. So again, data isn't collected just for a company's own benefit, but companies provide services and benefits to the consumer. That's the exchange. I've heard from a number of retailers that they're concerned that their loyalty programs and the benefits they may get either from discounted prices or free items.
Or like mileage even maybe?
It could very well be. Those types of things could be impacted by this law. Again, not that because what the bill did is change certain definitions. So there's just uncertainty as to how companies can comply.
Right.
And it may be possible that certain companies in New Jersey may decide we can no longer give these type of loyalty benefits.
Right. It's amazing. When will this become law?
It's law.
Okay.
The
I'm sorry, when will be enacted? I guess?
It takes effect 1 year from the effective date, and then there are certain triggers that happen,
Right.
After. So, again, we're all trying to figure it out right now. Even though we've had a lot of really the best and brightest people in the nation working on this, we're still going through this law and trying to understand exactly what it means and how it's going to be implemented.
Right.
So we have 1 year to figure it out. The Attorney General is going to be doing rules, at a certain point in time as well.
Public meetings for the rules, possibly?
For all rules that are proposed, there must be a public hearing and a comment period. We plan to be active in that process. But again, it's up to the Attorney General to write their rules, and they don't necessarily have to listen to our suggestions.
Yeah, it's kind of the sausage being made, right? Like,
And it's also hard, again, we're dealing with a bill right now that, is vague and internal inconsistencies. You can't necessarily fix that, through the rulemaking process.
Yeah. Ray, I want to ask you, I know once it became law, Governor Murphy signed this into law. NJBIA's call right off the bat was for a cleanup bill. Obviously, you still got to sort out what this law is, but is there anything you'd like to see in a cleanup bill? Anything off the top of your head?
Well, again, some of those vague definitions we want to have clarified. Some of the words that were added to the bill at the end, inconsistent with other states, we would like those removed. So we can be consistent and have a uniform process to opt out of certain data requirements through all the multiple states. And most importantly, we want to go back and tie up to make sure that there can't be a private right of action, that the plaintiff's bar cannot be looking at businesses in New Jersey as a way of making money through non-meritorious lawsuits. Right. So we want to make sure that we clean up the private right of action provisions.
Okay, very good. Folks out there, if you want to learn more about this, NJBIA is going to be hosting an AI event on March 14th in Kenilworth. You're going to go to njbia.org/events, look for insights and outlooks for any information. There'll be a great discussion on this. Ray, great work on this. I know it's complicated, but you put it in layman's terms for us, so thank you.
No, thanks, Bob.
Okay. Well, it's a new year and time to get a temperature on the 2024 outlook for New Jersey businesses. NJBIA's 65th Annual Business Outlook Survey took input from more than 500 New Jersey businesses about where they are and where they're going, and some of the results may surprise you. Here's a glance at what they said. All right, thanks to all the NJBIA members who took part in the 2024 Business Outlook Survey. And thank you for joining us on NJBIA's Mind Your Business. We'll see you next time.
Association Master Trust is changing its name. We are now Association Member Trust because we're all about our members. Our health plans are designed to give members more options with better service at a lower cost. We've partnered with Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield and Delta Dental to give our members access to some of New Jersey's and the nation's largest provider networks. We've put our profits into improving our plans. When possible, we even pay dividends. We help our members select the right coverage for their needs and help with any billing or claims issues. We are always there for our customers. So next time you're evaluating health plans, look for one where you can expect more. Look for Association Member Trust. More options, more health.